So if you're in tech, you know what TLDR means. It's too long, I didn't read. Basically, it's like the summary of what I'm going to be talking about, right? So TPM, so it could be technical product manager, technical program manager, technical partner manager, anything with a P, right? So for me, it's like a problem. You're solving problem basically, right? Whether it's a product problem, program problem, or a partner's problem, right? So these are the three skill sets that you need to have basically to be a successful TPM. So this is like something for you. Once you get the slide, you can quickly take a look. I need to rush. And about me, so as you can see by now, and by my accent, I'm an immigrant myself, right? So that's a not so global footprint of where I've been through. So I was born in Taiwan, and then I moved to Canada, in Vancouver, particularly about 20 years ago. And then I did my undergraduate, and then I did my 1-year internship in Japan, the NTT, which is like the AT&T equivalent in Japan. And about 8 years ago, I moved to Seattle because of work. Okay, so this is like not so global footprint, basically. And this is like the timeline of what I've done throughout my 20 years in tech industry, right? So I did my undergrad in Victoria, which is nearby, and then my graduate studies, I was in Toronto for my mobile engineering, because I thought 15 years ago, mobile is the trend, right? Everybody's looking for cell phones, so I was doing my mobile engineering. And then once I did my engineering for like about 5, 6 years, I realized I've been doing this technical stuff, why are we doing this? Right? Then I tried to think about maybe I should do some business and become a management, right? So that's when I did my MBA at UW nearby, so I'm a Husky as well. And then once I did my MBA and my engineering, I thought, now I know how to make stuff and I know why, but who should I pitch this stuff to, right? So that's when I did my data science at UIUC, and it's totally online. So I've never been to the campus at all, right? Last year I was supposed to go for graduation, but the airfare is too crazy right now. And as you can see, the reason why I superimpose my academic and my professional background is I want to convey a message like you can always study when you do your full-time job, right? So all this, when I do my engineer at Rogers in Canada, or whether it's a PM, a product manager, a program manager at ASUS, you probably heard about ASUS, the Taiwanese computer company. And then T-Mobile as a principal engineer, and now I'm at Google nearby as a TPM. So all through my entire professional career, I've been doing my study at the same time, right? So, and you can see I'm going back and forth between engineering, product management, and the trend is actually different now. And because I'm out of master to study, so now I'm deciding to go to CityU for my doctorate now, because it's too many masters and there's no more point doing another master. Okay. And finally, these certifications. I'm sure like some of you have done some certifications. And about 10, 15 years ago, certification is kind of a popular field, right? To get a job, you probably want to get some certifications. So this is when I started, right? So as an undergrad, or I tried to think of something that's easy to do. So I did my CompTIA, like, like A+, A+, Network Plus, whatever plus we have, I probably have them. And then followed by Microsoft, which is popular with MCSE or MCSP, and then CCIE. But now, once I started doing all these technical certifications, my mindset started to begin to think about some of the process, right? So that's when you see the IEEE, which I did the wireless communication professional, because I was a mobile engineer. Then I started doing product development, right? So that's where you see the PDMA and now PMP, right? So, and I'm actually doing my PGMP by the end of the month. So this is like the trend, right? So from the very beginning, you want to be an engineer, then later on, once you know how to do stuff, you want to know why. And then the process of trying to realize and try to innovate and trying to make sure it can bring this to your customers, right? So that's I don't know how long I've been talking about myself, but here's the true story that I've tried to innovate back then, right? So the first story, this is when I started doing my graduate study, right? So this is about like 2003-ish. There was a Dutch company, it's like an online bidding, shopping, like entertainment business model, right? One of our founder, and I'm a founder myself, he was employed with an antivirus company, and the Dutch company was actually one of their clients. So he saw this business model, which is interesting, meaning that you can actually get like a PS5 for like 2 cents or 3 cents. But there's a caveat, right? Because you're actually bidding, and then there's a counter coming down, and then once you bid, and then the counter increases by 5 seconds, right? It's more like borderline gambling, basically. So it's like gray area, right? But I was a grad student, so I didn't know. I was like, okay, so I want to do startup, right? So this is something that we can do. And then without any business background, I didn't have my MBA at the time. We actually have 3 or 4 founders. We gather some friends and we start actually create a company. We actually register a company and we actually we actually have a running website and we actually give away. But at the end, we didn't go for like a pitch for like Series A or B. And that was because it was borderline gambling and we were actually not sure where we want to proceed. It was in Canada, in Toronto. But the lesson learned for this is you want to have a business model before you start doing anything. And I realized the major burn down, the most cost we have is to the lawyers, right? Because we want to know whether our business model are legal, and then we want to register the company, and then we want to, so that was a lesson learned. So don't think about startup before you have a business model, you have some concept, and then make friends with your lawyer friends. So I had to network and know some lawyer to get some discounted rate for consulting. Next one, so this is probably saw some of these devices, right? So when after I started working for Rogers as a certification engineer, I had the opportunity to sort of like product develop or manage all these kind of like innovative product at the time. So not now. Like this is like the first Android device, right? HTC Dream. This is like the first tablet Nexus with Google, and this is like the my nightmare. So this is like Asus pet phone, so the phone docking the tablet. This is like 10 years ago. And now you probably saw this home internet, right? T-Mobile home internet, and now this is the my previous project for last year. That's the Google TV. But as you can see, the industry trend actually kind of developed as well. So these are all hardware. Now it's more like data and now AI, right? Because I'm in Google. I'm doing Google Assistant. If you look at Google I/O yesterday, everything's about AI, right? So I'm actually part of this team right now. And sorry, I'm not in TV anymore. I'm in wearables. Imagine how many data we know in terms of wearable. So lastly, this is something that oh, is it 7 minutes? Okay. I'll go to the next one. This is something I did based on color, you know what I did before, and that's a prototype with the business model, with everything invented out, and the company currently coming and thinking about doing this. Okay, so the current state, so basically you can see everything's becoming data driven, right? So you want to make sure hardware is so important, but everything is, if you look at the trillion-dollar companies, they're all pretty much software driven, except for Apple, which is like a mix. Next one is very customer focused, right? So everything you use, you probably get surveys about how you like the product or not. So it's very user focused. And lastly, it's very connected. The word's connected, right? So what that means is everything, everywhere there's data, right? Everywhere there's data, I mean, if you're talking about AI is powered by data. So data is like the new currency. And let me rush you through real quick. So skill set. So what you want to do is you want to become a TPM. First thing, the T, you want to have a domain knowledge, right? So how you get your domain knowledge is basically through work or through school, and also like through some like self-study, right? So that's, you want to have your domain knowledge. Next thing you want to do, you want to be aware of data, and this is course I teach. So basically, this is a typical data-driven decision model. So everything you do is based on data-driven decisions, basically. And finally, you want to also know about the management methodology, right? Whether it's waterfall for hardware or agile or some other Scrum, other methodology, you want to be aware of that. And if there's one more skill set that I would recommend is communications and networking, like you're doing right now. So I remember when I did my first job, I was in a networking event talking to a VP, and then I somehow got a job at Rogers, right? So I know I'm out of time, so that was my last slide. So thank you.
Questions?
Oh yeah, questions. I know it's pretty fast. So